In today's episode of the podcast, I have a whip that is making a comeback, and I have a couple other things that I'd like to share with you that I'm quite excited about as well. So if that sounds like just your cozy cup of tea, grab yourself a cup of something cozy or refreshing, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. For today's episode of the podcast, don't call it a comeback, but I have a work in progress that is making quite a comeback, and I'm really excited to share that with you. But before I dive into any of that, I want to give you guys a really exciting update on the new Fiber for the People Born, Shorn, and Dyed collection that you may have heard me chat about in the last week or so. So before I dive into all of the knitting, let's talk about that first. Now, if you've been a viewer of the Wool Needles Hands podcast or channel over the course of the last year, you know that I've developed quite a love for a small business here in Nevada called Lovely Valley Wool. And that business is owned and operated by Megan DeFarina of the DeFarina family, who are a family of sheep ranchers in northern Nevada. I had the good fortune of meeting the family this summer when I went to visit for a charity event that they host annually, where I got to not only meet the family, but also see some of the sheep that they have there at the ranch and to learn about the sheep that they actually have roaming the hills and the mountains of northern Nevada. And it is these sheep that produce the wool that create the yarn that Megan offers in her shop at Lovely Valley Wool. Well, when I met with her this summer, and I've talked about this before briefly, she and I hatched a plan to kind of collaborate on a new venture for both of us. I would source yarn from the DeFarina Sheep Company through Megan for a new collection of yarn for Fiber for the People that is truly born, shorn, and dyed in Nevada. And we were both very excited about this opportunity. And that collaboration has finally come to fruition in my first Fiber for the People shop update with the Born, Shorn, Dyed collection. Now, born, shorn, and dyed simply means that the sheep are born, bred in Nevada, they are shorn in Nevada, and now their fleece in the form of yarn is dyed in southern Nevada by yours truly for Fiber for the People. And it's a really cool collaboration, keeping the wool and the yarn local until, of course, it is purchased by folks from all over to enjoy wherever they happen to be. And I think that it's a really special endeavor. So I wanted to share with you the first colorway collection for the Born, Shorn, and Dyed collection that I'm offering in Fiber for the People. Now, this is 100% merino rambouillet sport weight yarn. These are the colorways I came up with for the first collection, inspired by this little mood board that I'll pop up now. And I'll give you a little glimpse into what the colorways look like all together. And it's just so lovely. I'm in love with each of these colors individually. I love them together. I will be doing another update in the Born, Shorn, and Dyed collection in November. Some of the colors that I have here will return. I'm thinking one or two will return in that update. However, I'm going to be pulling some inspiration from another source for that update. And the source that I'm pulling inspiration from is kind of a recent obsession of mine. There is a show, and I'm not exactly sure where this show originally aired. I know it was not through PBS. However, I'm watching it through the PBS Passport app or what have you. But it's the new 2022 Marie Antoinette series. You guys, this series is fascinating. I love it. It is pretty true to history with some pretty significant dramatic liberties taken, but it really all kind of adds to the enjoyable nature of the show. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The show is so entertaining. If you love that history, if you are an original fan of Sofia Coppola's 2006 version with Kirsten Dunst, which was totally different to this series, like you get maybe just a snapshot of the Marie Antoinette, King Louis XVI reign in that 2006 version, but you would still appreciate this one for very similar reasons, one of which being the colors in the series. Now, you can imagine, if you know anything about the history of Marie Antoinette and that whole kind of monarchy, you know that it was a very colorful and fashionable court, I guess you could say. And they hold back nothing in this series. The colors are so inspiring. And so I thought to myself, because I devoured the entire series I don't know, over the course of the last week. And so I thought to myself, it would be fun to use some of the colors in this show because there's lots of repeating colors. You see similar colors coming across the screen all the time, but together as an ensemble, it's really quite beautiful. So I want to use some of those colors to inspire the next line of colorways for this yarn. And I cannot wait. I will keep you posted on this over on Patreon. All of my behind the scenes Fiber for the People yarn dyeing adventures are housed over on Patreon. You can check that out. I'll link to it below. But I am really excited about the upcoming collection. Another way to stay in the loop about all things Fiber for the People is to head over to Instagram at fiber.for.the.people. I'll keep you posted over there, as well as the newsletter that I send out prior to each update. So you want to head over to the website, fiberforthepeople.com. You can sign up for that newsletter there. All right, I just wanted to share that with you because I know I talk a lot about Lovely Valley Wool, and this is a really exciting adventure for me and a journey that I'm on, and providing this yarn to you with the Fiber for the People spin is really special to me. So, okay, without further ado, I want to get on to what I have to share with you guys as it relates to a work in progress that is making a comeback. Now, if you are here, there is a decent chance you watched my last episode of the podcast. And for those of you that watched that episode with me and left me your words of support and understanding and empathy and sympathy and all of these things down below, and some of you even left me some really good pull yourself up by the bootstraps, kindly, obviously, and without judgment, kind of words of encouragement that I really appreciated. And then there were some of you that left me some comments that served as sources of enlightenment that kind of helped me tap into why exactly this particular work in progress was such an issue for me, or why the issues I was having with this particular project were so much more profound than they maybe would have been in other circumstances. And I thought it to be a rather enlightening experience just to read the comments. And I think that that's what's really valuable about having, a opportunity to share these things with you guys who are here to watch and listen and take something away from the episodes. I felt like it was great because I was able to get frustrations off my chest. It was great because I was able to lend some insight to others who maybe weren't aware of some of the issues that I was having. I was able to provide kind of a shoulder to folks who had been dealing with something similar with a project that was very frustrating, and also to let you know that we all experience these frustrating mishaps, and it doesn't matter how experienced you are or where you're sharing this information, like we're all dealing with these things. So I thought that it was a great episode for lots of reasons, far beyond me being able to just share an issue with you guys. All of that is to say that I have decided not to give up on my Stripe Hype sweater, which is a pattern by Veronica Lindberg. She goes by Kika, and I know that she has a YouTube channel. I've watched a few of her videos. I haven't watched all of them, but I know that she is absolutely lovely and her designs are lovely. But that is who designed this particular sweater. Now, I made it seem as if I was ready to just throw this thing to the wolves and be completely rid of it. But my opinion changed after, like I said, having all of this reflection, reading the comments, and just, having the opportunity to share my struggles with you guys in the first place. But one of the things, in addition to a comment that was left that I go into kind of detail about over on Patreon, I wrote a little blog post. I have a written blog post and an audio version over on the Patreon where I talk a little bit about this particular comment that was left that really opened my eyes to what may be causing or making my issue seem more profound. But after that comment, which I so appreciated, I received a comment from none other than the lovely Nora Gahn, who watches and supports the channel, and that pleases me to no end. You have no idea how honored I am to know that Nora Gahn watches the video. So Nora, if you are watching, I am so happy that you are here, and I appreciated your comment on the last video. And when I say the last video, I'm referring to the last podcast episode, because she said to me that she wears her sweaters with lots of ease by choice, and that's what she likes to wear, and that even beyond 12 inches of positive ease suits her. And in the last podcast episode, I mentioned that anything beyond 12 inches of positive ease, in my opinion, is just too large. And I think that I made that comment without really considering what too large is for me without trying on some sweaters that are beyond 12 inches of positive ease and seeing what they look like and really understanding what that would feel like on my body. And so she left a comment to the effect that I should consider trying on some sweaters to get an idea of the fit. So I know what to expect with this particular sweater. I'm not going to rehash all of the issues I was having with this sweater, so you can go back and watch that episode. But I will say one of the issues was that I was under the impression it was going to be too big because of the gauge I was getting. Just go back and watch the episode. I'm not interested in going back into all of that right now. So I took Nora's advice. I took a lot of advice from a lot of folks. Another commenter mentioned that something along the lines of the pattern including 12 inches in the ease, and probably suggesting that me saying anything over that is too much. Well, if they included it in the appropriate ease, maybe something slightly over that really wouldn't be too much. It would just be larger. And so I get what folks were saying. I'm rambling at this point. But what I did is I continued knitting the sweater. And I was so much more motivated to knit this sweater than I even was prior to acknowledging the issues I was having, just because I felt kind of liberated and empowered even to carry on and just trust my instincts, even though I know that those led me to realize that I had had gauge issues, but just to trust it. And then after watching the podcast back and seeing like, it really doesn't look like there are that many issues, I continued knitting the sweater to the point where I am now ready to do an Italian, I think I'm doing, what is it? Like a 3-needle bind off, or I'm going to do a bind off here that gives me, I want to say it's a 3-needle bind off, but either an Italian bind off or a 3-needle bind off that gives me a nice rounded bind off edge. But that's where I'm at with the sweater. So I've made considerable progress. I've blocked the sweater from here up, so you can see where the blocking ends and then just like the raw fabric begins here. So from here, about here down is unblocked, and from here up is blocked. And this is where we are so far. And I'm no longer concerned that the sweater is not going to fit. I know it's going to be an oversized sweater, but I realize now, after having finished this and after kind of being given the guidance to consider a larger sweater and having it still be something that would work for me, I feel much more confident in this. And one thing that I did very shortly after posting that video is I went into my closet that I share with my husband, and I pulled out, number one, a sweater of his. It is this, just a basic cashmere sweater that he has. Now, my husband is 6'5", slim, not scrawny or skinny. He's 6'5" and broad shouldered, but he's a more slender guy. But yet he wears an extra large because he's got very long arms. He's got this proportion where he needs an extra large for the length of the arms. Probably could go with a large for the body width. It's just kind of an in-between. But he wears an extra large in sweaters like this. This is one of his sweaters. So I went and I grabbed this out of the closet because I felt like it was the most basic shape of all of his sweaters that I could use to help get an idea of exactly how large my stripe hype sweater is, because I made it seem as if it was grossly oversized. When I laid it up against this sweater, I noticed it was, number one, not that big. It was, significantly smaller than this one, as it should be. I think I would know if I was knitting something in the realm of a men's extra large, which this is not that. But I also went a step further and I tried this sweater on to see how this sweater fit on my body. And I want to do that for you here because this is a men's extra large. I am a woman's in between a small and a medium. The shirt I'm wearing now is a size small. I can wear a size small. Some things I feel like fit me a little snugger around the shoulders and the arms in a size small. But just to give you an idea, I'm 5'4" and I'm in between a women's small and a medium. So I'm going to put this on with this pair of jeans that I'm wearing here, just to give you an idea of where we are with this and kind of to show you what I saw after trying this on. So let's go ahead and throw this on, see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to move this chair out of the way. Here we are. So now, again, this is a large sweater, folks. Okay, like if I really just let it hang on my body, this is where we are. Let's just show you the full thing, okay? So here we are. You can see the depth of the sleeves. Now, when I held my sweater up against this or laid it out over the top of this sweater, the depth of the sleeves on this sweater was not nearly as deep as the ones on the sweater I have on. So and I'm going to put this on too. So just in comparison so far, I don't know how much this is going to show you, but we're going to try. Okay, so here we are. Now, of course, this isn't how, if I were to throw this sweater on, you could, roll the sleeves up. You could make it work. Have that whole like boyfriend sweater experience. Do like a little French tuck. And then you have this like slightly oversized sweater situation going on. And it's really not heinous, right? Like this, you could make this work. And if you could make this sweater work, you could absolutely make this sweater work, which is the point that I'm sharing here, is that when I tried this on, realizing how much larger this sweater was, and realizing it was significantly larger than this sweater, and I was still able to make it work, that I wouldn't need to just completely abandon this project. I could make this project work. So I'm going to try this on now for you and show you what it looks like thus far with the size that I have here. Okay, and here we are. So I have knit this to what is about 22.5 inches from the center back down to the bottom hem. And I had to actually stop quite a bit sooner than the pattern would have had me stop for the size I've chosen, because my row gauge on this project is much larger than what the pattern calls for. So I knew I was going to need to stop knitting stripes earlier to accommodate the proper size, which is what I did. And then I did my ribbing, and I'm going to finish the ribbing with the main, this ended up being the main color, this kind of gold color here. That will be the final round of ribbing to give it this contrasting color, I think. I may just end it with this oatmeal color, but this is where it is right now. Now, of course, obviously I don't have sleeves here, but you can see the sleeve depth. This is the part that is technically too large. I probably didn't need as many underarm stitches. However, the purpose of all of this and bringing this project back is to make the project work. And I am convinced that I'm going to be able to make this work because of the way that this sweater fit, because of the armhole depth there, and the fact that these are actually not quite as deep as those. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I'm very much more confident now. This sweater is going to grow slightly vertically as this blocks out, because it did that up here when I blocked this. So I'm going to get a little bit more length here. And it comes down a little bit more in the back. It really is nice the way that it's up in the front and down in the back. I like that, the way that this sweater is constructed, as opposed to short row shaping in the back of the neck to bring the back down a little bit. It did that just in the shaping, the kind of contiguous shaping of this sweater. Now it has a needle in there, but this could be a sweater that I could do like a front tuck, and it would be slightly oversized. It can be styled and it's going to work. So I feel much better about this sweater now than I did before. Another thing about the shape, this like kind of more wide shape. If I hold my arms up, it's just a little bit more wide here. This overall shape, I feel a lot more confident about, because I recently made a purchase at Madewell for this rugby shirt. Now, I know I went into the whole thing about the color of the sweater not being ideal. I felt like it washed me out. I feel like I may have been just grabbing at reasons not to continue the project, because I think it was like before I even published that episode, I purchased this. It's a rugby like shirt that I purchased from Madewell. It's super cute, very preppy. It's exactly the same colors. Like what, I purchased this, and I wouldn't have purchased it if I felt like it washed me out. It is the same color story, to be like, really, if you look at it, and I love it. And the shape of this is very similar to, and even not even similar, it's bigger. Like, look at this. And this is a small, and it's intended to fit me. This is my size, but it's much wider, and it has this like similar kind of boxy shape, and I really love it. And it kind of has this drop shoulder construction happening here with pretty deep armholes. So this, in combination with my experience trying on Brandon's sweater, and then also trying this on and realizing that it's going to work, I feel so much better about this project. Okay, it's heating me up. I'm going to take this off and we can chat a little bit more about it. Okay, I am knitting this sweater half in Patons Classic wool in this lovely mustard brown color that you see here, and the other half is in Lion Brand Fisherman's wool that you see here in the oatmeal color. Again, all of these details are on the last episode of this podcast. So that's where we are with this. I am actually quite happy with it. I'm actually quite excited to finish it off. I'm going to go ahead and do the bind off today, so that will be finished. I'm not going to make the hem any deeper, I don't think. I might add maybe another 1/2 inch, but I want to finish this today, and then I want to get the sleeves on, because once the sleeves are on here, that's obviously going to, at least one sleeve, that's going to give me a really good idea of how this drop shoulder looks and how much of a sleeve I'm going to have. But I'm feeling so much better about this. And that's not, you know, I feel like that's not like blind confidence. I've been through the gauntlet with this project. I've had my, you know, negative thoughts and doubts, but I'm now realizing that it's just not worth ripping it all out. It's not worth frogging it. It's worth finishing it because it can work and be a lovely sweater. So I'm really happy about that. I'm thankful to everyone who came and watched that last episode and was supportive and provided their own insight and guidance, and that just means so much to me. There's times where some projects, especially if you're having a crazy and chaotic week, can make the issues you're having with some projects seem so much worse than they actually are. And that's the case. That's what led to that. And like I said, I talk more about that in kind of more detail over on the Patreon if you'd like to learn a little bit more about what my thoughts are about that. But it was a really chaotic week leading up to the issues I confronted with that sweater. And I was hoping for just a win with that sweater, and I didn't get one. You know, sometimes you just need something to fall back on when you're in the midst of something that's chaotic and hectic and stressful, and that sweater just wasn't doing it. And so all the little speed bumps I was experiencing just seemed so much worse than they actually were. But I'm so thankful for the opportunity to share all those frustrations with everyone, because it made me realize that it's really not that bad, and it's not worth frogging, and I actually really want to finish it. So I'm super motivated to finish it. I am convinced it will be finished the next time we meet, and that is a beautiful thing. That is all I have to share with you guys today. Thank you so much for being here with me to hear me ramble about my thoughts on this comeback of a work in progress. You guys are so special to me, and it means so much to be able to share all of these things with you. If you enjoyed yourself or took anything away from today's video, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and definitely subscribe and click the bell icon so you can be notified anytime I upload new content, which is every Wednesday and every Sunday. Until I see you for this week's midweek ramble, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon.